Ain't no fake love between us, cause we don't get at an inch. Peace king for life, that's how we work and we win. Real friends. Real friends. Where would I be without my, Hey son, who gon' ride for me like my day one?
Welcome back, folks, to the What We All Needed podcast. More than just a podcast, this is a community of brotherhood. We kind of figured out some things, man. We need each other. We need that accountability. We need that support. We need that friendship, whether we're talking spirituality or just goofing off. And we hope that as you watch, you'll pick up some tools, some gems, and make sure you create this own kind of community for yourself. My name is Colin, educator, father, husband, etc., etc. Who else we got here today?
Yo, I'm your boy at the WWAN Ali. I am a father, husband, all of it, man. Phenomenal leader and cultivator out here in this world, man. What's up with y'all?
What up, what up? I'm Yusha Assad, recording artist, motivational speaker, and master certified professional coach. You know, father, friend, overall good guy, man. I love people.
And I am all of those things. Half man, half amazing. Number one, I am a man of God. I love my wife and I love my children. Beyond all of that, I'm just out here trying to live the best life I can. We'll go ahead and roll in with some questions. We're going to do something a little fun today. And so this is how it's going to go. It's called this or that, right? So I already prepped you guys prior and having a placard with the letter A or B. What I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you a question, and then I'm going to count down. I'm going to give you 3 seconds after I answer the question. I want you to put up your answer. All right, we're going to try to get through as many as possible. I have quite a few prep. Let's see if we could at least get the 7 for the founders.
I'm scared.
All right.
For the founders.
Look, you're supposed to let that slide through. I
didn't catch it at first.
Exactly. If he ain't asked for his 200 when he passed go, don't give it to him.
No. I want him to sit in it. Come on.
Y'all gonna let my man Sean? Y'all gonna let my man Sean? They let it slide through? Nah, Sean, you started it.
I won't let my man Colin sit in it, bro. Pause.
Sean started it. You said slide in it. You supposed to let that slide through. You said it, Sean.
You
it's the half amazing.
You got all 7?
Right.
Ooh, all right. So look, we about to go in because I was about to get ignorant for a second. All right. First question. Would you rather A, your partner outlive you, or B, you outlive your partner? Oh wow, I didn't get the countdown. All right, okay, we got a split audience. Ooh, we got 2 that's saving face for their wives. We got 2 that's telling the truth. That's cool. All right, we're gonna move to the next.
This nigga said like some person I'm lying. Let's keep rolling for 9.
Hey, we gotta say our answers. So I'm B. We gotta say our answers too.
A.
Well, yeah, we got 2 B's, 2 A's.
Them kids better off with her.
I had an A, by the way.
Yep. The noble one and Colin has had A's. They chose their wives. Yusha and I chose B.
Yep.
All right. The next one. Would you rather A, receive a thoughtful gift, or B, an expensive one from your partner? 3,
my true preference B. My true preference is B.
All right. So Colin and I would rather have a thoughtful gift, and Yusha and Ali are materialistic.
Hey, by the way, that last question proved a lot. If anybody know, me and Colin still married and been married once, so I'm gonna just drop the mic on that one.
Hey. Look, we could get into it because ain't nothing in this world promised.
That's what we gonna get on today. I'm going for self. I'm just saying, Colin.
Nah. All right. So
I have a reason why I chose B for the first one.
Hey, bro, look, we try and get through as many as possible. All right. The next one.
Like we need to justify.
I wouldn't want my wife to have to deal with that level of grief.
Man,
I thought about that too.
Would you rather? So the next question: would you rather A, have a partner with a possible life-threatening job, or B, have a partner that has a totally time-consuming job? 3, 2, 1. Okay. Colin and I chose life-threatening job, and Yusha and Ali chose B, which was the time-consuming job.
Man, you got quality time as a love language. That's why.
It's like, you're alive. You could die.
Nah, but on top of that,
we're not supposed to be giving justifications. Come on, man. Come on, man.
You know when it comes to Sean, the rules apply to everybody.
You understand? That's what I'm saying.
No, yeah, I didn't even get to say. Y'all had no idea what I was about to say. But it's cool. It's cool. The next question: would you rather A, make your partner happy with a white lie, or B, tell the blunt truth? 3, 2, 1.
I'm B.
Okay.
Look at us alive.
I think we all now have matured to a place where we feel as if the truth is absolutely a necessity. I don't know if this would have been the same a few years ago, but as we transition to the
definitely not.
Yeah,
all right. Would you? All right. Okay. We're gonna keep moving. We're gonna keep moving
the hard way.
Would you rather A, date someone who your family loves and your friends despise, or B, someone who your friends love and your family despises? 3, 2, 1.
Which one is where family love?
Family love is A.
I'm saying that because my closest friends are my family too. So
yeah, that's that. Yeah, I don't really know the definition of friendship anymore as I've gotten older. All right. Would you rather A, your partner be terrible in communication, or B, your partner be terrible in finances? 3, 2, 1.
B.
Okay. All of us value communication over finances. That's
and I think everybody here.
All right, so we're gonna go into the next one. Since I couldn't talk, we're gonna go into the next one. Would you rather
your rules, sir?
So let's allow the audience to hear the question. Would you rather A, never be able to laugh with your partner again, or B, never be able to have sex with your partner again? 3, 2, 1. Okay, so Ali hot in the past, as they used to say back in the day. He would rather.
All right, so next question, you get
not laugh. All right.
I'm gonna tell you something.
These questions are difficult.
Hey, do y'all laugh when y'all have sex? Have y'all laughed when do y'all have do you kind of enjoy it? Do y'all laugh at each other? No.
Nah,
but I'm sorry, y'all ain't there yet. All right.
That's not about joy, right? Joy with your partner, or just
hey, I'm saying, dog. I've had a couple of laughs.
I don't even know if I want to have that conversation. That felt uncomfortable as you asked that question. Would you rather A, give your night's sleep or get your night's sleep and resolve an issue, or would you rather go to sleep prior, or I'm sorry, let me back up. Would you rather A, give up your night's sleep and resolve an issue, or B, go to sleep and resolve it in the morning? 3, 2, 1.
I gotta go to bed, man. I get up early.
So Ali and I would rather sacrifice the night and resolve it, and Ali and Yusha would rather go to sleep in the fetal position, most likely,
Colin,
and then wake up the next day.
I'd rather just wait till the morning when I can talk to God and pray.
The way my wife set up, I better wait.
All right, look, we're gonna have one.
I'm set up. I better wait.
But the question is what you would rather do, not the way your wife set up.
I couldn't process that in 3 seconds.
All right, bet it.
All right, look, this is the last one. This is the last one. Let's go in. Pause. Would you rather A, keep your relationship closed and monogamous, or B, be open to exploring other people and experiences while still in your relationship? 3, 2, 1. Ooh, I saw some reluctancy and some answers. I don't know if we're being completely truthful, but that's cool. All of us chose monogamy. All of us chose monogamy. I wish that we had a lie detector set up, but it's cool though.
I was processing the question. It's layered. Your questions are layered, man. And you got 3 seconds to decide.
Appreciate y'all for engaging in this icebreaker, man.
No doubt, man. That's pretty dope. Find out some really revealing stuff about y'all. I ain't really know.
Yeah, we're gonna have some offline. We're gonna have some offline conversations.
Sean must have a life insurance policy on Taylor.
Yeah, you and Sean, Yusha and Sean would rather what? Y'all would rather die? Y'all would rather stay alive? Y'all gonna kill y'all wives?
No.
Ain't nobody said nothing about killing.
I'm gonna have to deal with the grief. I don't want her to have to, you know what I'm saying, sitting there.
Hey, your wife is more resilient than you is, bro.
I might have changed that answer because my wife has been through enough loss, and I'm like, dang, I wouldn't want her to have to go through that too. But my first thought was the kids, and I'm like, yeah, she gonna take way better care of them than me. That was my first thought.
Oh, them kids gonna be old and taking care of us. Hopefully, inshallah, God willing.
True.
That's another topic for another day because I got a lot to say about that particular topic.
All right.
Being so close to it.
Good icebreaker, Sean. Good icebreaker. We like that one.
What we talking about today, Ali?
Yo, we are in part 2. You hear me? Part 2 of the life and love after divorce. Man, part 1 was so hot, we had to keep it going with part 2. And I believe that my man Yusha and Sean ain't really get enough off their chest, so we back at it.
I like that intro.
We need a version too where you just be like, "Yo, this is the."
All right, yo. So we're gonna start with some questions. Colin, you want me to go first, or you want to
go? I'll go first.
So let's do it.
I like this. I like when I'm not in the hot seat. All right, so let's start off with, it's a question, but it can almost serve as like a recap a little bit. So last time we talked a lot about the divorce process and what that looked like coming out, going into the life after divorce. So just quick question to kind of recap. I would think most people, when they get married, right, they assume this is the one that they're going to spend the rest of their life with. Nobody goes into marriage with an exit plan, or most people don't. You don't go into marriage thinking this might not work out, divorce. Now that that's happened, right, are there ever moments of either regret or not regret in a sense, like regret in the sense of even like we probably should have never gotten married, should have never been together? Or is it always like, nah, that was meant to be for that time? Like, how do you process that on the other side of this now? Let me know.
I mean, I would say great question. I would say for myself, if I had to classify it as a regret, my immediate regret, essentially is that I did not consult God, right? People talk about keeping God in the center of your marriage, which I completely agree with. I think what needs to be spoken more is keeping God in the center of your life, right? That will then transition into your marriage based on the existence of God and the relationship that you have with God and your intentional walk every day. At that point, I did not necessarily have the intentional walk that I have today. I'll say that much. And so that would be my regret initially, is just not consulting God. And is this the woman that I'm to be with?
So before you answer, you should follow up question, Sean. So was your first marriage God's plan all along, even though he knew it wasn't your forever? or Sean's plan that God still used to do some good?
Well, let me add to that because I want to make it harder, right? Does it change the fact in your mind, does God make any mistakes? You know how you get married and people are like, man, God don't make no mistakes. God don't make no mistakes. So if you got divorced, right, does it challenge that thought too?
Well, nah. And I mean, what I would say in response to that, with the peer view that I have now in the time that has passed, where I've been able to kind of sit in my experiences and really evaluate it. The reality of it is that the Bible says that all things work for the good of those who love the Lord and are called to his purpose, right? And so to answer the question, Colin, I think that it is both and could be both. It may have been God's purpose all along, or it may have been our will that put us into a certain situation. And God said, cool, I'm still going to make lemons out of lemonade. Or I'm going to make lemonade out of lemons, right? Now, as I dig deeper into that, who's to say that still wasn't God's purpose, right? Which ties into what Ali is saying, in that God doesn't make mistakes, because we have two beautiful, intelligent, thriving individuals that came from that. And I don't know the true endpoint, I would say. But what I do know is, even beyond them two, our families are tied forever.
Yeah.
So who knows what's going to come out of that in the future?
Shout out to my God kids. Yusha, what you got on that?
I mean, every follow-up question that y'all asked Sean would have been my answer, right? That I can agree with what Sean said earlier, right? About not including God in the process, though I thought I was. But there's so many beautiful outcomes on the other side of my life that I don't even know what my life would look like if I hadn't have chosen to marry her, right? So it's like I can't even like sit here and process like, dang, like it's no regrets for me. I'm not even a regret type of person for real. I'm a person who loves to learn and grow. So every situation has taught me something. And when I look back on my life, including the marriage, I'm just like, I don't know if I would have got where I am right now as a person if not for that experience. So I ain't got no regrets.
Can we zoom in on but I thought I was, that I thought I was including God, but I really wasn't.
Yeah, I mean, that just gets more personal, but I think by the time I married my wife, I was in a different place with God than I was when I got her pregnant.
See,
my spiritual walk with God wasn't absent, but I didn't have that level of connection when we first started dating and after she got pregnant. But by the time we got married, which was almost 2 years after we had our daughter, I was at a different place with God. So at this point, I'm just trying to, honor God. But the original connection of the relationship wasn't based off God at all. It was based off me having an uptown DC girl with them yams. You see what I'm saying?
So none of y'all had a moment where it was like, I ain't doing this again.
Nah, not me.
I did.
And so that's the moment I'm talking about, right? Where you had to obviously question the decision you had made and the decision you was going to, I guess, make in the future. So why did you question it?
So I questioned it because for me, at the time, I felt that I had done the work in the sense of the healing, the self-healing, the time alone, being able to reconnect with myself and then also intentionally connect with God, right? In that space, one thing that God revealed to me was that, one, my family would be whole again, which I didn't know what that was at the time. But then two, that there was an assignment that he had specifically for my life where I was not meant to be alone for too long. I was meant to be in partnership because of the weight of the assignment. And so when you hear God speaking to you for the first time, or if that's a new experience, you get very high off of that experience, right? You turn into a super Christian. Like everything is like, oh, I gotta be at church, I gotta do this, I gotta do that, right? And so you like going and moving on all cylinders. Long story short, in that process, because I heard that, now I'm seeking. I'm like, is this the one? Is this the one? Because God told me that I ain't, you know what I mean? So is this oh man, dang, she just bumped me in the grocery store. Is this the one? And I ran myself ragged to the point where not in the sense of like being a hoe, but just in the sense of seeking and desiring.
Yeah.
I had to run out of gas in that season where now I'm throwing my hands up and I'm like, it's all you, God. I'm tired. I'm tired of doing it.
For sure.
Yeah. So you was like a conscious hoe, like hoe with a purpose, basically.
No.
Conscious hoe. Hey, a conscious hoe. Hey, Colin.
A hoe with a purpose.
A hoe with a what?
A hoe with a purpose. Hey, you know, mission hoe-ship.
Oh, young a conscious hoe. Hey, young.
I was doing missionary work, right? The scope was just different.
Doing missionary work.
Hey, son, you gotta introduce yourself as the conscious hoe from now on.
Hey, I was about to say something real left field, but watch your mouth.
Oh man,
watch your mouth.
All right, I think that was.
But I mean, the reality of it is that you know, you have to have an intentional walk with the person that you believe in. And I truly believe that becomes your guiding light. When you think about being in a room, imagine being in a room that's completely dark and you can't even see your hand in front of your face. What's going to guide you out if you don't believe in anything, right? If you don't have a connection to the source that can then lead you to the next transition in the room. And I think that's what I was kind of doing, was just running around and just kept running in the walls. I kept damaging myself in that season because I'm now connected to the source, but I'm not looking back to the source for guidance.
Hey man, listen, y'all hitting on some really good things, man. We got some really good questions that I want to dive into, because y'all probably hitting on some things that we might get into. But if I can recap, y'all saying y'all didn't have any regrets, and that and actually the divorce actually being something beneficial to you in terms of it growing you with God, and it making your family even wholer than what you thought it was, and that there was a greater purpose even after you got divorced.
Yeah. Now I will clarify though to say that I said that was like would be my initial regret. I did have a fleshly regret though. I regret selling my first home. That's something that I would not have done, and that's something that I will.
We can get into economics and divorce, y'all.
Yeah.
We can definitely get into that, but that's a whole nother conversation. We talking about trusts and estates and all that. But all right, so transition to the next questions, right? So when you going through a divorce, I mean, even after the divorce, you experiencing some extreme emotions, some highs and some lows, right? Take us through them, right? The highs and the lows. What was your highest moment, right? How'd you get there, and how did you get to your lowest moment?
I would say I got to my highest moment as a result of my lowest moment, right? Now, what my highest moment looked like was me running 5 miles a day. It was drinking a gallon of water a day. It was meal prepping on Sundays for the entire week for myself. It was taking myself on dates and, you know, actually doing things that one was brand new to me, but two, what I realized at the time, or now that I did not realize at the time, was self-care, what that looks like, and the importance of refueling your tank, right? But that was at my highest. I was doing all of those things, right? And we believe in the 5 states of readiness, which is mental, physical, emotional, spiritual, and financial. I believe that even though all of those areas were not perfect, that all of those areas were thriving at that highest, right? Now, the reason why I say I got to my highest by being in my lowest was because all of those things were birthed out of a necessity to get out of the rut that I was in, right? I had irritable bowel syndrome, couldn't really eat, sleeping in a fetal position pretty much every night, waking up at like 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, every morning, with it constantly on your mind, like as soon as you wake up, not being effective as effective as I wanted to in work, and even in my interactions with my children at the time, right? And so I was able to infuse certain regimens and practices in that low time that then allow me to be able to grow to the height.
So just to recap, you said the physical, like, so all of the things you were going through, is that what motivated you to start self-caring, or what actually was it? The kid that's saying like, Dad, like, can you go outside with me? And you was like, I can't. Like, what was the trigger?
Yeah. So it was like me waking up at 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning every morning and not doing anything with it, because when as I'm experiencing it, my mind is immediately on it. So I had to tell myself, when you do that, do something intentional that gets your mind off of it. But then that's really where it started. How do I get my mind off of this all day? It cannot take up the majority of my thoughts and my feelings and so on and so forth. So I would wake up, I would roll out the bed, I would work out, I would pray, and then I would start my day. And it started from there. And I developed a certain regimen that then allowed me to, then what I was able to see is, oh, this is only 45 minutes, or, oh, this is only an hour of my day. And I've done so much even before a lot of people wake up. Let me add another 30 on that. What else can I do? Let me add another 30 on that. What else can I do? Right. And I was able to develop a certain regimen for myself.
Yeah. And if I could add to that from my perspective, because, you know, I had a front row seat at Sean when he was going through that. And I don't know if I talked about this before on here, but at the same time, Sean was going through his divorce and separation. Me and my wife were going through our separation, right? And it was like some nights we had a routine. It was like every morning on the way to work, we would like call, tap in with each other. And some mornings it was like I had a rough time and he had to speak life into me. Other mornings it was the other way around. He was struggling and I was like speaking life into him. I think that helped us both too, because it was like, and trying to speak life into you, I'm preaching to myself too. But I remember that, man. I remember them 2 a.m., 3 a.m. calls. We took once a week, man. He gonna call me crying. Call him, because we had that rule with each other. Like, and this is really for everybody else, man. What we all needed, why y'all need to have these kind of spaces. We had that rule with each other. Whereas like I purposely kept my phone and my ringer on, because like if Sean called me, I gotta answer. I gotta wake up and ask, and vice versa. He called me at 2 a.m. crying, like, yo, I just need you to pray for me. Like, it's rough, and it'd be same in reverse, you know, like, hey bro, like just pray for me right now, man. I'm struggling, you know. So I just want to share that, man, so people can see the value in having that, man. Don't try to do this stuff in solitude. You need community for this.
We definitely gonna revisit that. Yusha, I need you to tap in on this.
Yeah, I was, just waiting, getting letting Sean get all his thoughts out. I mean, a lot of what he said is still true for me as well, right? A couple of things, right? If I speak from the heart, from a principle space, Bob Marley said that when a person go through extreme difficulty, they either come out really, really good or they come out really, really bad. If I connect that to Eckhart Tolle in the book that me and Colin was reading, The New Heaven or New Earth, and the Power of Now, Eckhart talks about how extreme suffering is really the entrance to spiritual evolution and spiritual awareness. And so when Sean said that his lowest moment was the moment that pushed him into his highest moment, I relate that to that, right? And the same for me, right? I talked about my lowest moment in part one, but I talked about my lowest moment when I was sitting in that bed alone, relationship over, you know what I'm saying? Not necessarily feeling like a failure, but dealing with the experience of failure. Being in DC alone, no family. My closest friends were all from Cali and moved back to Cali, and I was just here by myself. And My father's passed. Me and my mother don't have the best relationship because of my religious choice. And so it was just important for me at that time. That was really my lowest point, because that's when I was like, all right, God, I'm ready. If this is it, take me. And I'm sick. I'm telling you, I remember I said I was at the doctor. Doctors couldn't tell me what was wrong. I was like, I'm ready. And it kind of reminds me of Job, right? When Job got to that lowest point and his wife was like, what you doing, bro? Just curse God and die. And Job was like, nah, I ain't gonna curse God. So though I was cool with leaving at that time, at least I thought I was cool with leaving, right? I could say that. I wasn't about to curse God. So, that conversation from Juanita Bonham about being able to speak life into yourself resonated with me. And when I spoke healing over my body, and I affirmed that from God's perspective, and I woke up the next morning and the thing that was hurting me was gone, everything else was uphill from there, right? So I developed a motto, in a sense. It's somewhere in my room, but essentially, wake up, work out, get in tune, believe, respond, do one thing extra, rest and repeat. And that became my form. That became the form that I took on. Wake up, work out. Get in tune was prayer, spirituality. I do 19 things that I'm thankful for. I still do that to this day. I got journals that go back 6 years of me doing 19 things that I'm thankful for every morning. I created a lifetime affirmation for myself that I put on my Working and Winning album on the second song that you can hear. I built a vision board. I didn't build one for that year. I built one for my life. And I was just like, all right, God, obviously you don't want me to leave. You got something for me. So let me stay tapped in. And I just built a regimen for myself that led with God all the time. God all the time. In Islam, we say this thing called Bismillah. It just really means like in the name of God. Like whatever you do it with God in mind, which is really with great care, or do it with love in mind. That just became the thought process. And my lowest moment was the push that transitioned me into my highest.
There's a lot of tools in there, man. Hey, you said something that sounded like one of your songs. That's in the song, right? The Form. It's that whole
Form, elevate, and repeat. That's what it be. Form came from me saying like, this is my form. Stay in form, get back in form. Don't lose the form. That's what got you out. If you lose the form, you're gonna fall out of position.
That's what's up. That song is on my workout playlist, by the way.
I got a follow up to that, actually, because y'all talked about lows and highs, and y'all talked about them in like their silos, like they're not connected. But I kind of think they are, right? In a cycle of what you go through in divorce or emotionally, right? So there's highs and there's lows, and then there's a high again. So my question for y'all is, did you stay high when you stayed high, or was it always low? And then when you got to your high point, what caused you to dip back into the low point, right? Like, what was the trigger that made you not be consistent to what you were saying you was going to do? Because I mean, we're all human, right? We consistent one week, and then the next week we're not. So I'm curious, like, did y'all experience that? And if you did experience that, like, how did you get out of that?
Yeah, I'll go first on this one because it's right on the tip of my tongue. So to me, the low point, what happens in the low point, if you are God focused, I think what happens in the low point is that you surrender. What happens at the high point is that you get complacent. And so it creates this back and forth battle. So when you talk about the high point and did I come back down? Yeah, I came back down, and I came back down because once I got to the high point, my high point also came with me being so busy that I didn't necessarily tap in all the time. So I lost the form. I lost the consistency of the form. Right. Mm-hmm. The high point for me was like, oh, you know what I'm saying? I'm popping, I'm doing shows, we opening up for major artists, I'm here, I'm there. So I might wake up, and before I go to the gym and pray and get in tune and do my 19 things I'm grateful for, I might be out having a meeting. And that becomes the normal process. And then, the complacency of that space. And then what happens is something happens. You break up with a girlfriend, or you get a text and you get hurt. You experience some emotional difficulty that you don't have the right spiritual standpoint to manage. And then that hurt, that pain body, that hurt, that difficulty brings you back down, because then you start questioning things. You start losing your confidence. You start losing that space. But then you get to a low. Once you get to that low of low, you do what you're supposed to do in the first place. You surrender again and you say, God, what do I need? And then you go to a higher level of elevation, because I don't think you go back to where you were. I think you go higher.
Yeah. So you sound like almost content with that up and down. Like I was listening because I struggle with that. Like you said, that complacency, then you dip back down, and it's frustrating to me. Like for me, I'm constantly looking for strategies and tools to be more consistent on the high. So I'm listening for like, yo, y'all got any advice for that? That's what I need. Like how do I stay there? Or maybe, but you almost sound like you see value in.
So I want to answer that, Colin, and then I know Sean want to speak, but there's a verse in there's a verse in the Quran I love that says, Allah, God will never change He will never change your condition until you change what's in your heart. And that's both on the positive and the negative side, right? So what God is saying is, I won't improve your condition. I won't make your condition better until you change what's in your heart. But what he's also saying is, I won't make your situation worse unless you change what's in your heart. Like if you change your posture, if you change your heart, then you will see a decline, but it won't be me, it'll be you. And so I think that wave is us dealing with human error, right? Us dealing with the complacency of like, all right, I'm good. I don't need God as much no more. Oh, okay.
Yeah. To address what you just said, Colin, I don't think that you are necessarily meant to stay there. And I think that that's for all of us, right? We have to realize that there's going to be ebbs and flows in life, and there's going to be seasons. And within those seasons, you have to then be able to figure out how to provide grace, but then also how to relentlessly pursue what it is that you are trying to obtain, right? One of my favorite movies is The Pursuit of Happiness, right? And it's not because my favorite actor, Will Smith, is in it. Not actor, my favorite entertainer is Will Smith. But it's not because of that. It's because there are so many life lessons and jewels in it, right? It's called The Pursuit of Happiness, not happiness. And so when you look at it, what you realize is that he went through trials and tribulations, but he never gave up, right? Mm-hmm. He had extreme lows, but he never gave up. And the way that I apply that to my life is it's a pursuit. It's a pursuit of peace. It's a pursuit of joy. It's a pursuit of happiness. It's a pursuit of physical fitness. It's about the journey and what you can apply along the way and being able to experience the journey versus the actual endpoint, because that endpoint is going to change as life evolves. I'm currently in a season right now where I'm learning to just accept the fact that there's not really time for me to work out. There's not really time for me to lock in and have the intentional one-on-one time that I need with myself, right? But that's just a season. However, I've experienced the highs, so I'm never giving up in that fight to get back to that place.
Yeah.
I love everything that Sean said, but it's for me, it creates a curiosity for those, especially somebody who's experiencing divorce and who's in that difficult, dark moment, right? When he talked about the pursuit of happiness, I think that people go after relationships, right? Especially after divorce, right? They go after new relationships for the pursuit of happiness. I think people in marriages, right, who are extremely unhappy go after divorce for the pursuit of happiness. And what I believe is that if your pursuit of happiness is an external thing, you're always looking to change something externally for the pursuit of happiness, then you will never find happiness. I think the pursuit of happiness is the part that makes happiness unattainable. The thing that, to me, that makes happiness attainable is when you recognize that the thing that you're looking for happiness is already within you. When you just sit and be still and be quiet. Yeah. And many of us, and this is not a slight to Sean, but I watch it. Many of us, especially in moments, we believe or allow ourselves to believe that we do not have the time to sit and be still and present with ourselves because we're going to lose time on something else. And my warning and my inspiration and my motivation to you is that if you do not take the time to sit and be quiet and be still, you may be doing the things that you're doing in a way that isn't really truly beneficial for their growth, right? that you may want to stop and take care of yourself so that the things that you do can be more efficient.
Man, that sounds like something my life coach just told me last week.
Yeah.
Now,
if I could just add two things to that though, right? I personally don't believe in happiness. I think that that's a figment of our imagination because it's so subjective. What I do believe in is joy, right? Because I believe that when we talk about happiness, happiness is completely external. The joy is the internal. And that's what we have to continue to focus on. Once you have joy, you bring that joy to your marriage. You don't look for happiness. You figure out what internally you can bring to add to the marriage.
So you guys are transitioning perfect into the next question. Life and love after divorce part 2. So you're divorced, you're in the single life now. And what I usually see people do, especially men, is go quickly into dating after divorce. Like they'll say, probably women too, I don't know, but they'll say like, oh, I'm just going to just work on me for a while. But like within a month, it's like dating. So my question, and you can, you probably already gave one of them, but just like 1 to 3 things tops, no more than 3. If you can just tell folks out there like, hey, here are a few things that I think you should do before dating after divorce. You're divorced, before you start dating, here are some things you should do before you put yourself back out there.
Yeah, I want to refer back to the late Miles Monroe, who did a whole topic on this about when a man should get married. But he kind of gave his rundown. So the first thing is that you should tap in with God, however you do that. You know what I mean? Whether it be sitting and understanding that God is within you, whatever it is, tap in with God and get close and allow yourself to shut out the world for a second and just turn up with God, whether that be through a fasting process or, consistent prayer or just shutting down the world. 2, really dig into what you feel like your purpose or your alignment is. And I think you find that in yourself, right? When you sit quiet and you sit still, you'll start to see things, right? You'll start to get downloads and visions and you tap into that. And then 3, I think working on your vision and going after that thing until you get to a place within yourself where you're sure that you know how to like cultivate wellness for a household, right? So, and if I conclude, I would say tap in with God, learn, understand, work, operate in your purpose. And 3, learn to be a cultivator, right? Whether that's like getting some flowers and knowing how to grow flowers yourself, but learning how to cultivate yourself, your house, your environment before you decide that you don't want to be alone.
Yeah. What you got, Sean? 1 or 3 things to do before dating after divorce.
Mine are somewhat similar to Yusha, but just in summation, I would say love God, love yourself, and then find your work, man or woman, right? Intentional relationship with God, learn to love God. Intentional relationship with yourself, learn to love self, right? And then figure out why you are here, what your purpose is, what your work is, and just start to actively move in that.
Love it. Prerequisites. Where we going next, Ali?
Yeah, I'm gonna try to wrap 2 questions in one in this situation, right? So now that we talked about, the 3 things you kind of gotta get yourself ready for, right, or to do, right, stepping into the dating game. So tell me, how did you, get to a place where you were able to trust again, right, and be vulnerable to another woman, right, in your pursuit while you're dating, right, that essentially leads to love, right, and marriage, right? Because you're not dating at this point for no reason, I assume, right? Or are you, right? And if you are dating to get to that marriage point, like, how did you make that decision that, like, I'm going to be open to this particular woman even more than I probably was in my previous marriage?
I would say for me, my trust has evolved even to this day, right? I think that is more of figuring out what it is that you are trusting and how accepting you are to, not to say necessarily the faults, or I would say the imperfect pieces of someone, right? Because we all are imperfect. None of us are perfect, right? And so to culminate that trust with what you can accept, I think is the key. I'll say for myself personally, going into my first marriage, I had a certain expectation that I could change, I could grow, I could evolve her, I could better certain situations because I had a pure desire to, but I had an expectation that we were going to, quote unquote, elevate in certain areas. You got to really ask yourself, why do you love this person? And because you love this person, can you stay with this person despite ... right? Despite her she might never change in certain areas. Are you good with that? Right? Now, the reason why I say that my trust has evolved over time is because, and I'm going to be transparent, as a divorcee and now being newly married, what I realize is that you can't have an expectation for anybody else except for yourself, because even the things that were meant to last forever, right? Somebody has a power of choice to then leave, right? And so that has allowed, or that I have evolved in a certain area where I don't necessarily have the same type of attachment issues, or I'll just say attachment that some people may have, right? That you, Ali, and Colin, you guys may have because y'all never experienced divorce, right? I know what it's like to have your entire world pulled from you, not because of your desire, right? And so I exist in a different space now where maybe it's a coping mechanism, and I'm just being transparent, but I'm okay with the what if. I'm okay with it potentially not being there. And so to tie that into trust, that has improved my trust, because with my now wife, I am able to look at those things that are pillars in why we are together. I trust that she is at the bottom, at the end of the day, just a good person. Not to me, she just built like that. She's just a good person, right? And so I have trust in the type of individual that she is. Everything else, a long time, prayerfully, it will improve. But if it's not, I'm okay with that because I know who I've married.
Follow-up question to that, because I'm hearing something. So
let me answer before you ask, right?
Go ahead.
Yeah, because you might ask or answer it in a way that, you know what I'm saying? What I love about what Sean said too is this idea like he had his whole world pulled from him, right? What you learn about divorce is that most people go into divorce, and most of us, especially a lot of people, just like, man, this is my first and last time. Like, I'm not getting divorced. Divorce ain't happening. Especially if you were a kid who experienced divorce, you're like, I'm not getting divorced. And that was really me, right? And once it happens, you realize that nothing is finite. So when Sean said this idea of like, I have less of an attachment, or my attachment style changed, I think, it's for the better, because you learn to realize that the only thing that's finite is God, right? So it's just like, I cannot have such an attachment to one thing that I allow myself to break. And I said this to myself yesterday in talking to myself, having a conversation with myself. I'm like, the thing that really affects you, especially when you're talking about this aspect of trust, is like, to look at a situation that may have broke your heart, or took you to your lowest moment, and to be consistently stuck in that place and not allowing yourself to have trust again and love again, is essentially one of the most disgraceful things you can do to God, because you start to take your focus off all of the blessings and things that God has put into your life to improve you and make you better. And you start to only focus on the hurt. And when you start to really rely on, like, be able to see how things really worked out for your good, like Jeremiah 29:11, you'll see that, like, I can trust again, because at least I can trust that I can make it through. All right. Yeah. I can trust that I can experience this level of difficulty and still come out on the other side. And so it's not necessarily that I'm like, I super trust my wife or my woman or my girlfriend. I do, but it's also like, I trust myself to be able to love you. I conclude by saying this. My last year of my marriage, even though it ended pretty bad, the last year of my marriage was the best year. And it was the best year because I took the onus off of my wife to love me. I no longer made my love for her. I no longer made her love for me a prerequisite for my love for her. I used to say, I love you because you love me. And I changed that statement. Right? I say, I love you to please my Lord. I love you because I have love. I love you because I am love. That's all I really got to give. And because of that, that last year was really good because I was just like, I have love. I've taken care of me. And now I have love, and that's all I have to give. And so when I walk into new situations, I'm not necessarily looking for anything. Right? I'm only looking to give. And though I know I should be receiving, there should be reciprocity in relationships, I'm also just at a place where like so much of my well-being is in how I sit and tap in with God that it's just like, I just got love. Come get this love.
Yeah, so like both of you all pulled out, and I appreciate that. Both of you all pulled out the good and the self-good in how you now perceive and how you trust and all of that, right? And I appreciate that context. But what I imagine and know, actually for the both of you, is that for the other person that you're dating or married to, right, that can be problematic, right? If when you are in this space where it's just like, because it can be perceived to the other person as you got one foot in, one foot out. So if you could speak like, and I'm not assuming that you have a perfect solution for that, but how do you deal with those spaces when I've been through this and they haven't? And because I've been through this is my stance, but it's hard for them to receive that because of where they are, because they've never been through this.
Oh, I've had that.
I know you have. That's why I'm asking. Yeah.
And I'll speak to it. How I got to where I was my personal journey. And I can't really break it down for you how to get to where I got to because I don't want you to have to go through what I went through. But I am where I am, not because I lack love, because I'm one foot in or one foot out. That's not the case. The case is I seek no control over you. I seek not to possess you. I only seek to love you. And there's a level of acceptance here where it's like, I love you and I want to see you grow and I want to win with you and I want to be with you, but I want to be with you in a way in which you understand the difference between what I can provide for you and what God can provide for you and what I can provide for you with God's help. And so I think, you know, what I would tell anybody who feels like, because you know, I just read the book Attached, where it talks about these three attachment styles, about a more anxious attachment style versus an avoidant, and then you have the more healthy one in the middle. What is a healthy attachment style? A healthy attachment style is one that says, I truly love you and I really want to be with you and I want to make things work and I have a real deep connection with you. But my connection with you isn't anxious, right? It isn't so deep that if you showed up tomorrow and said, this is no longer the life I want to live, I want to leave, that you would destroy me. It would hurt, but I wouldn't be destroyed. Nor am I so detached from my emotions that if you showed up tomorrow and said, you don't want to be with me, I just look at you and be like, all right, nigga, good riddance. We would have some real conversation about it. But at this point, I've been through so much in life, death, loss, and gain, that I have absolute proof and trust that if you feel like that you need to keep it moving and this ain't the space for you, though I love you and would love for you to be here, I know that God got something better for you and me. And hopefully you're making that decision because you sat in your spirit about it and you felt led to make that choice because you felt like God is taking you somewhere. How can I be a hater of that?
Like that.
I want to make sure we get into like the actual meat of what we're trying to get to in terms of that, in terms of leading into the dating, right? So again, so you have, both of you have gotten to a place where it sounds like your faith has increased, right? And that equal to your fact that like you can just go out here and trust that God's gonna basically do his thing. All right. So now that you trusting God's doing his thing, you at your highest point, you ready to date, right? Tell us like, you know, about your dating journey. Sean, specifically you, right? Because your dating led to you getting married. So how did that really look like for you?
Where did you meet people? That's what I want to know.
So I got married my first time at 25, right? Fresh out of college, fresh into a new career. After college, was married, and then got separated around 30. Divorced maybe around, let's say, 32, right? The world looked completely different in so many ways, right? From a technology standpoint, from a financial standpoint, because I was deeper into my career, so on and so forth, right? So everything was brand new to me. So to answer the question about like, where did I meet people? I tried Tinder before, those platforms. Really, any grocery store. I used to, for y'all know, I used to work at a grocery store. Like when I was going through my separation,
Yeah, forgot about that.
I tried to pick up a part-time job and was doing stocking at a grocery store late at night because I wanted to use my idle time in a healthy way versus being out in the streets and what have you. What I realized is that is a lion's den for lionesses that come to buy groceries, and they are savages and go after any and everything that they see that they like, right? But to answer the question, I met them everywhere. Social media, church, maybe past acquaintances that we never really had that type of connection, but then we came back into each other's lives, so on and so forth. It really, in my opinion, it doesn't matter where you meet them as far as the medium. If it's a healthy medium, it's what you do when you meet them and how you interact. And I will say that I don't know if I took the time that I needed to be able to see those individuals that I was dating in all seasons of their life before I made a decision to become more intentional with them, because I was already in a posture as a husband because I was previously married. I wanted to be intentional about the relationships that I was building, but that space ain't meant for everybody.
Yeah.
So again, Sean, you met, right? You met, like, I'm trying to Yusha. Sean, where did you go to meet the girl, and then where did it, like?
That's what I'm saying. I'm trying to tell you. Where do I meet women? I typically only date women I meet through other people I trust. My dating process is almost like a referral process. And to not be long, but to keep it short, my DMs are full. Right? I see fine ass women at the gym and the grocery store every day. I live in the DMV where the numbers are really tilted towards.
Talk about it.
There's no shortage of beautiful women everywhere. And so my qualification for who I talk to has nothing to do with looks. It has nothing to do with who hollered at me first. It has nothing to do with who shorty slid in my DM. I'm a person who has to almost watch you for a while. Like, I have to be in space where I can see how you treat other people. I need to see your heart. Or one of my homies needs to say, she got a good heart.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Sean was doing mission work, remember?
The first person I quote unquote dated was me backtracking from a past relationship.
No steps backwards, man. You know that.
But listen, I'm not going to try to, don't want to be long-winded, but we already understand the dynamics of all of that, right? So that was the first. The second one was a past acquaintance as it pertains to us going to college together, but we never had a relationship. And so it was kind of like we just bumped into each other, actually in a parking lot at the grocery store, and started talking. The third was through Tinder, right? And then I would say the one after that, I would say after that was kind of like really was actually in church, right? So
I was about to say something before you said conscious hoe.
Church. Hey, listen. So we could stay on track. Let's bring it back.
The conscious hoe, bro.
He was doing mission work, y'all.
So to tie it in, though, what Yusha was saying is that we live in an area where there is not a shortage, right? On top of that, women are aggressive in this area, right? And so to answer your question, I mean, there's so many different ways that they come across, but it's really what you do with that space and that interaction.
Okay. Sean, you're not a hoe. It's okay. All right. So
I'm married, bro. I'm not no hoe. I'm
you're
married.
not.
Right. I'm sorry.
I'm saying you were not a hoe before. You was just doing mission work, bro. It's okay.
No,
Hey.
I was
Next question.
very much a hoe when I was young and immature.
And you
After I got married, I will not accept that title at all. After my first marriage, I will not accept that title.
I got you. That's what I said. You weren't. You was doing mission work. Hey, so
still doing mission work.
Hey, so Yusha, I'm gonna just ask you a direct question, man. You have an ex-wife who is still family. You guys have an amazing daughter together, and so you're forever connected. She also has another man that she's going to be connected to forever, who she has a daughter with. And you talked about it in part one. You have a relationship with your daughter's sister. Is there tension, or has there been tension between you and this guy? You know, what is that communication like? What is that? You know, where was it and where is it now? How we connect the dots, man? Like what's
my car broke down. My car broke down one time, and it was in the shop, and I needed a ride home. And we were both at the house. I'm seeing my daughter. Him, I think he was still in a relationship with Danielle at that time. And he offered to take me home, and I took it. And on the ride home, I played the Struggle album for him, which talks about the relation. It talks about it. And I just looked in his face, and I could tell the story that he got wasn't the truth. It was whatever story she needed to tell him to express her truth. And I think once he saw it from my side, once he heard, I could see it in his spirit that like it wasn't there. And so I just dropped it with him. Because I was like, bro, you weren't trying to hurt me. You know what I mean? And so we good. Like he good people. He cool. Like he live right down the street. If I need he do a certain type of work. So if I need some work done, he'll, you know what I'm saying? He'll do it. I'll lean into him to do that. He keeps my daughter. I keep his. Ain't no smoke for what? God been blessing me too much. You know what I'm saying? To be having smoke with this man. Like, you got it.
But the question is, do you ever have tension though?
I mean, we talked about that in part one, but we didn't have personal tension because the first day we met, I was fasting. So whatever tension I wanted to move my energy.
Okay.
You know, it was kind of.
So you never had tension with him, is what you're saying?
It never even got to the point where we had personal tension with each other. The tension I had was removed the first day I met him because it was the first day of Ramadan. And I was like, look at God. Look. Because there's a strict rule in the Quran that you cannot initiate argument or fight during the month of Ramadan. You cannot. Like in the holy month of fasting, unless they fight you first and you're fighting back, you can't create no drama.
What about you, Sean? You ever gotten a little squabble with your ex-wife's new man?
Nah, I never got into no squabble at all. So never got into a squabble. Have I ever had issues with him? I have had issues with him personally, just as a father, right? And the reason why I say that is because of how it all played out in the dynamic of how we became a part of each other's lives, right? And this is with all due respect to him and actually in defense of him, right? Because he's meeting a young lady, which is my ex-wife. He's meeting a young lady that he's intrigued. He wants to be in her life, so on and so forth. He's coming into a storm of what we have created, right? Now, the reason why I say I had a problem from a father standpoint was because I live by certain principles as it pertains to children, specifically where I'm going to always uphold the highest regard to those parents, to be able to make like proper introductions before I'm around somebody else's kids, right? And so because I offer that, I stand on that for me as well, right? Which I would think and I would hope that him, in addition to every man, loves their kids and has that certain level of protection for their children, right? But that was really the only issue that I had.
So what we talking about, like him being around your kids before?
Prior to being able to really see who this guy is, prior to being able to feel comfortable that there's a certain level of regard that he's going to offer to my children. Right?
So how did you handle that when it was your turn? Now you're engaged, getting ready to get married. Like when did you introduce your wife, now Tavia, to your kids, to your ex-wife? Like how did you handle that?
Requested a sit down, a formal sit down, a formal meeting where all four of us came to the table and were able to kind of talk. The problem is that a lot of different scenarios overlapped in the sense of even that meeting being compressed within tension, right? Which may not necessarily have allowed for it to be as fruitful, the conversation to be as fruitful, or even the development of the relationship to be as fruitful as it could have been, right? But at a bare minimum, I wanted to make sure that prior to my now wife coming around my kids, that out of respect for the mother of my two children at that time, that they initially meet.
Last question is in the same topic, and then I'll let you jump in one of yours. So Yusha, for you, when do you decide, hey, I'm going to introduce someone I'm dating to my daughter, or there's a need to introduce someone that I'm dating to my ex-wife, so on and so forth?
This question is very specific to me because everybody wouldn't do it like me. So my daughter is a very intuitive young girl who does not hold on to a lot of stuff from outside. Like, she's not a person who's like super impressionable, though she is impressionable. She's a human, but she's super intuitive. I may introduce a woman to my daughter faster than most because I will ask my daughter, what does she get from that woman's spirit before? So I'm saying, so I'm a person who won't go too deep with a woman unless my daughter is like, nah, she got a good spirit from her perspective. Who do I introduce to my ex-wife? I mean, that's a give or go. I'm going to give respect to my ex-wife enough to say that, like, I'm talking to somebody. I will not introduce anybody to Gianna or to my daughter without talking to my ex-wife about it, but necessarily introducing them to my ex-wife. To me, that's not as important because as long as she is cool with them, meeting my daughter and moving forward, I'm cool with that. But my ex-wife doesn't necessarily, she's not a checkpoint.
Have the women you dated been cool with that? Like that's not caused any issues because they don't know her. So it's like that assumption thing and that trust thing of like, why you over there? What what y'all got going on type thing?
I mean, they've had those issues in terms of like, one of the issues, especially one of my exes, like, yo, after what she did to you, I don't even understand why you could be cool with her. And I'm just like, man, listen, I have a very forgiving heart. You know what I'm saying? And I'm only super forgiving because I've been super blessed. I'm not about to be sitting around and not allowing myself to have forgiveness in my heart. So that's been an issue. But, for the most part, if you truly know me, you know that I do not know how to have grudges. My memory ain't even good enough to hold grudges for a long period of time. We good.
What you got, Ali?
This is my last question because it's really like one of the most important questions for me when I think about life after divorce and being in a blended family and having children involved, and really just having maybe two different perspectives on life and two ways of going about life, right? And I'm really big on, and you should talk about cultivating. And with cultivation comes like your personal values and beliefs in terms of how you teach, how you take action. So I'm curious on both of Yusha and Sean, because you guys are very intentional about what lessons, right? And philosophies. What happens in a situation where your philosophies or lessons aren't getting across, or right, you want to get your lessons and philosophy across so that your kids can retain that. Like if it's tension or if it's not getting across, like what happened or what do you do?
Stay consistent. I think consistency beats out everything else, right? And the reason why I say that is because at the end of the day, the only thing that you can control is what you can control. Everything else, you're going to lose your mind trying to hold on to it, trying to contain it, trying to keep it in a certain box, right? But your character is one thing that never has to be defended. It speaks for itself. Other people will speak to your character through you being consistent. So even though we were going through certain things, even though, people could maybe assume or maybe even start to think and talk and speak to what they believe is going on. If I'm staying consistent throughout that, at the end of the day, there are going to be people that's going to be like, nah, I don't really think that could have played out because I know this guy and he ain't never carried himself. To me, or when I've been around him, I done seen him. He don't carry himself like that. You know what I mean? And that's really all you can do because everything else you're going to lose your mind on.
You speaking, you should go ahead and hop in that because I want to make sure we speaking to like how your children are going to make sure they receive you too, right? The lessons that you want to teach your children.
Absolutely. And I think, again, consistency because like I know that you could tell somebody, but you could also show them.
Yeah.
Especially with kids, and kids are sponges. So me bringing my kids with me when I go to church all the time that I go to church, me bringing them to meetings, them seeing me pray. I have alarms set where I pray, them seeing me pray, us praying together, playing certain music in the morning. You know what I mean? When we have time together, like those consistent things, I'm able to see the fruit of that labor, quote unquote, because now if there is a day where something is missing, they'll remind me about it. They'll ask me like, hey, you forgot. Or when my alarm goes off, my daughter specifically, this is the time you need to do your push-ups. This is the time you need to pray. This is the so on and so forth. And it's through that consistency, right? But one thing that I will say though, and I'm proud to say this, is that outside of my accountability partners, right? Because I truly believe everybody has to have accountability partners, somebody that you're walking and doing life with, right? Colin is one of my accountability partners. Outside of that, I've not said one bad thing about my ex-wife to anybody else, right? And so that in that being consistent, I'm also protecting my kids from certain things that could come back as well. They've never heard me say a bad thing about her.
So in the same line, right, Yusha, you speak to that in the fact that there is no consistency, right? That you may not consistently get your kids weekly or every other week, right? You may not even know when you're going to get your kid to be able for them to see you be consistent. What happens in that scenario when you're still trying to get your lessons across?
Are you asking this because you guys know that I don't necessarily get Gianna as consistently these days?
I mean, I didn't want to put it out there, but yeah, for sure.
I mean, it's only because Gianna got a little older as a woman, right? And so now she wants more time. I'm dealing with a teenager. When I thought about how to answer this question, I answered the question when I was answering it, right? The biggest key for me, and this is new understanding, is removing the ego that the lessons I'm teaching are the lessons that she needs anyway. Because the lessons that I'm teaching today are not the same lessons that I was teaching 10 years ago. And I got to sit with Gianna on some stuff and be like, hey, I know I taught you this when you was a kid, but that's not as true now for me. And knowing that, like, my mother and father did the best they could with me, but I had to look at them and be like, man, what was y'all doing? And so I know for sure, I told my homegirl this the other day. I said, man, if you write your book about your life, you're going to piss your parents off. But I said, you should still write it, knowing that if your daughter writes her truth about her life, she's going to piss you off. And so I'm not here, you know what I mean? The way I look at that, Ali, the way I answer that question is, yes, be consistent, like Sean said, but just be transparent and vulnerable about your mistakes with your child to know that, like, listen, we ain't got all the answers. And the best thing I can teach you, Gianna, the best thing I can teach you is how to get informed and stay tapped in with God so that he can lead you the way you need to be led. Because I won't always have the answers for you. And shit, some of my answers ain't going to be the right answer for me. It just might be the answer for that moment.
For sure. Man, so I got it. I'm going to let you go, Colin, with the last question.
Yeah, I mean, close out question. This is just a quick what we all needed nugget, a gem, 60 seconds or less. You know, we talking like jail phone call. You already got the warning. This call is about to expire, right? And you got to get out that last little bit of a nugget. Lesson, any final just something you want to give people for life and love after divorce. We're talking to people who are going through divorce, have been divorced, they're out there, or maybe they're remarried, whatever the situation is. Just that any last thing you want to provide, 60 seconds or less. And whoever want to go first.
Give me 30. Sean said this earlier and I didn't get a chance to answer it. My desire for life and love is triggered by the vision that God gave me. That one day there will be a kid who looks up at a picture 5 generations from now, who looks up at a picture and say, we have all of this because of them. And they'll be looking at a picture of me and my ex-wife, right? Me and my, not my ex-wife, but me and my wife at the time. And I'm driven by that vision. And so because I've had that vision, there was no amount of failure in one marriage that would ever keep me from believing that God would bring that into fruition. So stay connected to the visions that God gave you, believe in them, trust in them, and move. A sister once asked me, and I think I might be on 40 seconds now. She once asked me, she told me, do you want to be that close to me? Because I told her I would wait for her. And she's like, do you want to be that close to me? And what I told her, I said, based off a vision God gave me, I went through extreme difficulty, trial, and tribulation for 2 years for a business. Do you not think I would offer you the same?
I know Shorty's name. Not going to say it. Go ahead, Sean.
So mine would be in that time, don't be afraid to be alone. Do not be afraid to be alone. Everybody wants to be in a relationship. Everybody wants a companion. But when you are in that space of singleness, do not be afraid to be alone and lean into that, because there are going to be certain things that come out of that soil that will then allow you to be able to add to your future situation. If you don't utilize that time to the best of your ability, I think that you honestly are going to make anything else that could potentially grow and blossom a lot more difficult to achieve.
Love it.
Yeah,
Ain't that the truth?
Yeah, like, so a couple of things I just want to recap on, man. Divorce, a couple of things things I heard from you are, like, it causes illness, depression, financial and spiritual impact. And it also can lead to improving yourself too, right? By staying humbled and connected to God. Seems like your faith has increased tremendously through your trials and tribulations and divorce, and even now. Going through a blended family, I heard both of y'all conceptually just say, just let go and let God and let the evolution happen. Yusha, you said something that stuck out to me in terms of lessons change. It seemed like lessons change as the family evolves. So I think we, in our ego and in our humility, right, being understandable and graceful with ourselves, that this thing is going to evolve and change, and we gotta be able to change ourselves on the process of it. It's a beautiful thing to see. Last thing, Sean, I think it's important that we do talk about not being afraid of being alone. We know in our process that there's a lot that comes out in darkness. So we encouraging yourself to deal, and sometimes going to those lonely places so that God can feed you and you can hear God. So what up?
Yo, I want to say that when you get to that lonely place, if you sit there long enough, you'll find that it's not lonely at all. It's one of the best places you can be. We're going to transition into working and winning. All right, working and winning is simply just saying, man, if you up this morning, if you alive, then you're working, and if you're doing something to help somebody else, then you're winning. So our working and winning topic is really just about giving food for thought, right? Being able to share things with other people that'll help you see the light and help you win. So if you working, we about to teach you how to win. We about to give you some winning points. I'm passing the ball to half man, half amazing, Sean Juan DeMarco.
In the vein of what we've been talking about and understanding certain seasons and being able to provide yourself with grace within that season, right? I believe that you should never give up the pursuit, right? The pursuit to get back to where you once were. And so in that vein, one thing that I've been doing is I've been able to just realize that my schedule is not conducive to being able to work out the way that I used to, what was familiar. But also within that space, because I haven't given up, what I've been able to do is think outside the box on how to be most effective. And so just a little nugget for anybody, regardless of where you live. What I've been doing is I've been thinking about all of the different areas that I hit throughout where I live, right? And I go to the website for the Sports and Learning Complex or the community center, so on and so forth. And I download the calendar for the community usage of when you can go as a part of the community for free, right? So in my phone, I have so many different calendars of when the track is open, right? And I'm able to use it for free. What that allows me to do is that allows me to then be able to effectively get some kind of a workout in, regardless of where I am within the county, right? Because now I know where I can go and get it in, even if it's for 15 minutes.
That's real.
Cool. Who you passing to, Sean?
I'm going to pass it to Brother Ali.
Yo, all right, man. So I don't know if anybody knows, or some of y'all know, my wife's birthday is coming up. I ain't gonna shout out her age, but she is meeting a milestone, and the kid has been working. Have been working in terms of planning her birthday out, and also really cultivating her as she transitioned into her new job. So that's been my work, and it's been resulted in some real wins for us. Got a major surprise coming. I can't say it right now, but it's some good things happening as a result of the work. So stay tuned.
So what you're saying is be selfless in your pursuit to love your people and really think about them.
Well, actually, thank you for recapping that, though, Yusha. So Yusha, you talked about this word cultivation. And for me, I'm being very intentional about how I pour into my wife, right? What she is currently needing. So I might wake up and read her body language, right? Or I might see how she's reacting to a meeting she had today. And being selfless, right? I'm realizing like, oh, okay, I need to take sick leave today. So last week I took sick leave at around 12, and we went out shopping. So yeah, just trying to make sure I pay attention to her and give her what she needs.
That's a winning place.
For sure.
Who you passing it to, Noble One?
Thank you for that, man. Colin, go ahead, brother. The dope educator.
All right. My working and winning today, I'm going to talk about meditation. It's something that I think I'm still relatively new to, but it's becoming more and more of a normal part of my routine daily. And when I say meditation, I think for people unfamiliar with meditation, it might come off as something real Zen, kumbaya-like. But just that routine, that process, and I usually do it midday at work, close my door, lock it, close the blinds. Nobody's coming to my office. Like, I want people to think I'm not even in there. Might even turn the lights off, and I'm just gonna close my eyes and breathe. 2 minutes. It's usually 2 minutes, but them 2 minutes of stillness, of the practice of not holding on to every single thought that comes to your mind, the practice of just focusing on your breathing, focusing on the internal and the God in you, and really just working that muscle. Man, them 2 minutes feel like 2 hours. Like, when I come out of that, it's like I'm rejuvenated, I'm motivated, I'm realigned with my purpose, and I'm ready to go and do work. So that's just becoming a regular part of my practice of just living in the now. So I highly recommend meditation. If you haven't done it, I mean, there's endless YouTube videos out there that will like walk you through meditation practices. The app Headspace is great for like giving you daily meditation. You can set it up for different times a day, 5 minutes at a time, 3 minutes at a time. And then on Apple Music, Spotify has tons of like meditation playlists and stuff like that. But I highly recommend it. If you haven't tried it, just try it. See how it goes for you. Meditation, that's my working on it.
I second the meditation, by the way.
Yeah. Highly recommend. Yep. You should go.
So it's on me. I think one of the most important things that has really helped me, especially during this single time, is setting personal boundaries. So my winning today, what I want to share food for thought is just my personal boundaries, right? They may not necessarily apply to you, but I want you to hear some of my personal boundaries and maybe you'll be inspired to create something for your own. So my personal boundaries are, I want to be in bed by 9. I'm out of the bed by 4 a.m. No phone before 8 a.m. No meetings before 10 a.m. No work after 6. 1 gallon of water a day. Read at least an hour a day. Meditate and pray every day. 2 hours of silence every night. No more than one business or social event per week. Fast for spiritual growth once a week. I had a homegirl who's she coaches, and she was doing some games this weekend at Maryland I forgot what it was for, but some games up at Maryland University. And she was like, man, tap in with me and check out. And I said, hey, I would love to, and normally I would take that on, but I committed to not doing more than one social event a week, and I'm already going to a birthday party this week. So I'm going to pass on that invitation. And even though it may look like I missed out on something fun, what I'm realizing is that when I go against my boundaries, I miss my silent time. And when I miss my silent time, I don't get all of what I need in the moment. So set some personal boundaries for yourself, hold still to them, hold truth to them, and watch your life just increase and improve and grow, and elevate.
It's amazing, man. You got 4 hours in the morning before you on social media. That's major.
I mean, it's hard. I struggle with it sometimes, but I hold myself accountable to it. And when I say I hold myself accountable to it, don't mean I do it perfectly every day, because sometimes I'm trying to break the habit of going to my phone being the first thing. Mm-hmm. So holding myself accountable to it is like, what you doing, boy? Put the phone down. It ain't 8 o'clock.
Yep. That's real. Hey, appreciate y'all. Made good time today. I'm getting ready to go do AAU things. Who want to play us out? Who's feeling led?
It's on me. I got it. And I got a minute to do it. So, Colin, listen, you know how I like to do. Everybody tap in.
Yeah.
In your name, God the merciful, we love you, God. We thank you for the space. We love you and thank you and give gratitude for the life that you've given us, for how you brought us through, for the challenges and the difficulties you brought us to. You said in Jeremiah 29:11 that you know the plans that you have for us, plans to prosper us and not to harm us, but to give us hope and future. And so even through our difficulties, we thank you that you've kept that promise true. In our marriages, you've got us through tough times, through separations, through difficulties, and still brought us to a prosperous place. And in our divorce, you've done the same. And so, God, we know we have evidence now. We have evidence of your word that you will bring us through to a better place, no matter of the difficulties we may face, the challenges. For those who may be listening, God, those who are in difficulty, let them know that you will bring them through, and give them small evidences and proofs every day that you are there with them, so that one day they may look back and say, look what God has done. And for those who have come through, God, give them the power, the strength, and the ability to talk and share their testimony, so that somebody who's having a difficulty may know that this is the work of God. Amen.
I'ma rock with you forever, bro. That's what makes sense. You know, been tested. You showed up in the trench. Ain't no fake love between us, cause we don't get at an inch. Peace king for life. That's how we work and we win. Real friends. Real friends. Where would I be without my